Alright. Testing 1, 2, 3. 有声音吗？ Okay. Alright. Okay, so good evening. Thank you and welcome to our event tonight. So Firebase Study Gems on Firebase Web Codelab. So before we start the event, I would like to seek for your cooperation. So for those who are attending the event online, please follow SOP, wearing your masks throughout the event, and maintain social distance. And if you have any questions, you can ask the committees over here. And for those who attending the event virtually, if you have any part that you don't understand, you can simply drop your question in the comment. Our committee will reply one by one, all right? So without wasting any time, let us have a short introduction about what is Firebase. So Haziq, please. Introductions.
All right, so right now I would like to introduce a bit about Firebase. So first, let's watch a video from Firesheet. He has an interesting series in Firesheet in YouTube called In 100 series. So 100-second series. So basically, he will explain technologies in just 100 seconds video. So let's watch this first.
Firebase, a suite of tools for building apps and Firebase, a suite of tools for building apps and managing infrastructure on top of Google Cloud Platform. It was founded by James Tamplin and Andrew Lee in 2011 after they discovered that developers were using their chat software to manage non-chat application data. This inspired them to create a real-time database, a JSON database that automatically stays in sync with your front-end application. It was later expanded to support user authentication and website hosting to act as a complete backend as a service. In 2014, it was acquired by Google, where it was further expanded with serverless computing via cloud functions, push notifications via cloud messaging, and other Google services like analytics and AdMob. In 2017, Google acquired Fabric from Twitter and also launched a new document database called Firestore to support a wider range of applications. Most importantly, though, Firebase provides software development kits for virtually every platform to manage and scale this infrastructure with little to no backend code. To build a full-stack application right now, create a free Firebase project, then open up some code for your favorite front-end platform. Install the Firebase SDK, then connect it to the cloud with your project credentials. Once initialized, you can start interacting with your backend resources. First, we might want to know if the user is logged in or not. We can listen to the current user with the on-off state changed function. The user will be null at first, but we can log them in with their Google account using the sign in with pop-up function. Now that we have a user logged in, we might want to store something in a database. We can make a reference to a document in Firestore, then write JSON data to it while making a reference to the current user's user ID. But the amazing thing is that we can listen to updates to that data in real time by simply referencing the document using the onSnapshot function. Anytime the data changes on the server, it'll be reflected in the UI with zero latency thanks to optimistic updates out of the box. But that doesn't seem very secure. How do we control who has access to the database? Firestore security rules allow you to define access control logic in a simple readable format with common expression language. You can do almost everything from the front end, but when you do need to run server-side code, Firebase Cloud Functions provides a tightly integrated serverless backend. Not only does it allow you to create HTTP endpoints, but functions can also be triggered in the background based on events that happen in your project, like writes to the database, user authentication events, file uploads, and many others. When developing locally, Firebase has an emulator suite to run and test your code in a mock environment. When it's time to deploy, run the Firebase deploy command to push your code to the cloud and allocate infrastructure to run it at any scale. This has been Firebase in 100 seconds. If you're ready to build a serious app with Firebase, I can think of no better place to learn than Fireship.io. the web app I built with Firebase to teach Firebase. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
So fast. Okay. All right. So, what is Firebase? So basically, Firebase is a backend as a service or BaaS, same as software as a service SaaS, where you have monthly fees to pay. So it's like subscription based, like Netflix or any other services that you pay monthly. So originally, this Firebase is an independent company founded by James Templin and Andrew Lee, and in 2014, Google acquired the platform and turned it into Firebase. So Firebase basically reduced the complexity of creating application from scratch. So in traditional architecture, we have client and server, and basically when we want to do the request to the server, and then the server will determine what to do with that message and reply or respond to that message to us. And but in Firebase, we only have to manage the client side. So basically, when we want to do some request into the server, we just send this message to the Firebase, and Firebase will determine what to do with that kind of message and respond to that message to us. So the pricing plans for Firebase is, it has the free tier. So you have to just pay it after you exceed the free tier offer. So it just pay as you go policies. So basically you only pay how much you use the software or the platform. So and Firebase also split the common backend features into microservices or many other services. So you only use the thing that you need only. So we have a lot of features in Firebase, like Firebase authentication, hosting, MLK, real-time database. But we only cover some of it tonight. And okay, so Firebase also support iOS, Android, Unity, C++, and also for the web development. So I guess that's it from me. So I would like to pass to Hani to continue the session. Thank you.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Hani. So thank you, Haziq, and I'm today to guide you all to go through this study gem in the Firebase. So first of all, if you didn't have the link, I will guide you to the link first. You just type Firebase learning path. Okay. If you are in the virtual platform, so you can just follow the link inside the comment section. So find a way that have a learning pathway for Firebase. Okay. So now go through the collapse here and choose the Get to Know Firebase for Web. Okay, so is it okay for everyone? And include the virtual platform. Okay, so if you have any problem, you can comment on the comment section and our technical team will help you. Okay. Okay. So let us start for the Firebase study jam tonight, and our title will be Get to Know Firebase for Web. So as the title shown it, we will develop for our web app in the Firebase authentication. So first, this is the overview. So after you finish this collab tonight, you will see roughly like this for your web app, and this is the overall interactive web. So what you have learned tonight. So the first one is you will get to learn the authenticate user with Firebase authentication and Firebase UI. So the authentication let you to like sign in for the user, and also the Firebase UI like give you a ISVP button and also the sending message button. So the second one, what you have learned tonight is the scene data using the Cloud Firestore. So the Cloud Firestore is the database for this Firestore function. And the third one is if you want to like many user to log in for your web app, so you must give your web app a basic security. So today we will also like to learn the Firebase security rules like to secure our database. So what you have need today is like you need to have a browser, so such as Chrome today, and we will need to access to our statlist.com. So this statlist is an IDE browser, and you get a very fast sync for your Firebase development. So after that, we'll go get to the next step for like to get the starting code. Okay, so now this is a get the starting code. So in this Codelab, you will build an app using the Stabliss. It's an online editor and has several Firebase workflow integrated into it. So Stabliss let you to share project with others, and other people who have your Stabliss project URL can see your code and fork your project. So that's why we need to use this Stabliss.com Firebase web start, because we need to fork their project and become your own for this Firebase project. So now you click on this URL for the starting code, and we'll link you to the Stabliss. Okay, so you no need to sign in. Okay, make sure no need to sign in. Okay, so from here you can see that the project name is the Firebase GTK web start. So what we need to do is just go to here, and you can see this fork, and we click it. Okay, now you can see the middle here, the Firebase GTK web start will have a bracket fork inside there. So this means that the project is already forked to your own project. Okay, so after that, remember, go to here, you can see the dependency here, and make sure you press this update, and we're installing all the dependencies. So wait for a while for them to installing. So after installation complete, make sure you see here the Firebase version is 9.6.10. Okay. So now you will have a copy of the starting code as your own Stabliss project. So since we didn't sign in, so the account is called anonymous, but the project has a unique name along with a unique URL. So all your files and chains are saved in this Stabliss project. So make sure you don't accidentally delete this tab for the whole project. And now you, just in case you happen to get off the track, but there is a Stabliss links at various checkpoints in this collab. So later that you can see that. So if you, very unfortunately, you accidentally to delete your tab. So don't worry. After this section, we will get have you some like backup link for the Stabliss. So now make sure you already fork your project, and the project here is already named. So this project is belong to you, and okay, so just make sure don't accidentally delete this step. Okay, so now we go to the next step. So first we need to edit our event information because this Firebase is a platform web app so that you can share your event details for others users that sign in for your Firebase. So in this function, we would can edit our information inside this event details container and the description container. So we go to our front end here and this index.html. So in case you all not see clearly, I zoom in a bit. Okay. So make sure you choose this index.html and this is your front end. And here the left panel is the code inside the step list, and the right panel is your your integrated URL like a preview for a website. So at here you can see that this is an image and the Firebase meetup and the date, the place, and the description details. So from here, the collab, we can see that we locate the event details container and the description container, and we can try to editing some event details for our project. So first, we can go here and can see that there's two parts. The first one is event details container, and here is our title like Firebase meetup, the calendar today like October 30, or location city like San Francisco. And the description container is the description under here, like what we'll be doing today, and join us for a day full of Firebase workshop and pizza. So we can try to change our code inside the step list. So like we can choose the date today, March 25. And the location here, you can choose like Malacca. So we can see that at the right panel here, the date and the location is seen clearly with the date and the location after that. So below here, we can also write for like join DSC UTeM for a day full of Firebase workshop. No pizza. Okay, so at here we can see that the description here will change to join GDSC UTeM for a day full of Firebase workshop. So this index.html is a front end that you can change immediately, and the advantage of step list is the URL preview is like seen very fast after you change the code inside the step list here. So like this is the app preview. So for the Firebase meetup and the date, the place, and the description for event details. So now we will next to step 4. Now we need to create and set up a Firebase project. So displaying the event information is great for a guest, but just showing the events isn't very useful for anybody. So we can add some dynamic function to this app. First, we need to have like a Firebase function to hook up with your app inside the step list. So now we will start our first step for the Firebase project. So click here, sign in to Firebase. If you didn't sign in this Firebase before, you will need to sign in your Google account now. So for anyone that didn't sign in your Google account first, I give you like 5 minutes for you to like sign in to your Google account for this Firebase. Okay, so if everyone is already signed into this Firebase, so in the Firebase console, we can add our first project and like create a project. So we can name our Firebase project as Firebase Web Collab. So this project name actually can be any name you wanted, but for this collab, we assume that we put it as Firebase Web Collab. So at here, you can see that there is a create a project here, and choose it. And remember, we choose this Firebase Web Collab. So we try to Firebase Web Collab. Okay, so the project name here is Firebase Web Collab, but we can notice that under here has a unique identifier for our project. There's a hash number after the project name. So this will provide your project is a unique one for everyone in the world. So after you have named for a project, so choose to continue. So this Google Analytics is a useful item for your Firebase project. But for this today project, we didn't use this Google Analytics. So make sure you untick this enable Google Analytics for this project. Since we didn't use this Google Analytics for today. Okay. So after that, create project. So now we need to give them some time for creating the project and provisioning our resource. So while we are waiting, can get here and see that. After we enable the Firebase product in our console, so why we want to use this Firebase in our established project? Because Firebase gives us some initial function, so we didn't need to have like complex coding because it already give us some library for us. So we just need to import them, and we will just like using some simple coding to fulfill our target for our web app. So the first one is the Firebase authentication. This Firebase authentication can let us to verify the user for sign in and log out in our web app. And this Firebase UI gives us some function to like a RSVP button, or when you want to record attendance is going or not, it will give you some button to have a listening to the user. So all of these user or their discussion or their attending, they need some database to store their message inside. So the Firebase also gives us some function named Cloud Firestore. So this Cloud Firestore can let us, the user, to save their structured data on the cloud and get instant notification when the data change. So this is useful when you have like millions or billions users is using your web app. So we can get the instant notification, means that we can like very fast to know that the user is input some message or give us some response, and we didn't need to like some time to know their response for our web app. So when your user is already have a much number inside of the app, so we need the security to secure our database. So Firebase also a good product. It gives us the Firebase security rules that initially function for we to secure our data in the database. So some of these products need special configuration or need to be enabled using the Firebase console. But we will talk about this later. How do we need to like enable this special configuration for our Firebase console? So we get back to the Firebase console. Okay. So we get back here the Firebase project, and we can see that the Firebase Web Collab is already created. So we click continue. Okay, so your project name will be at here, and the initial view will be like this. So we can see that it can be like for iOS, Apple, and the Android, and also the web app. So today we were using this web app, but first we need to know that the authentication for the user to sign in this event details. So from here, you can see that we go to the Firebase console and we click the build in the live panel. Okay, so after that we click the authentication, and then we click the sign in method. Okay, then we choose the email password for the sign-in provider, and we set the enable switch to the on position, and then we click the save. So we get back to the project here and see that this project overview, under this build, have this authentication. Okay, so this authentication will manage the user to form a variety of providers. So we get start. Okay, so we can see there's many sign-in method inside this Firebase console. We have like native provider for email, password, phone, anonymous, and these additional providers that collaborate with the Firebase like Google, Facebook, Play Game, GitHub, Yahoo. So we choose this email and password. Okay, then we choose to enable it. So after we enable it, so everyone can use their email and password to sign in your event details and like having a discussion or respond to your event. So after that, we click save. Okay, so make sure your status here is enabled for your email password provider. So now we have like initiate our user authentication. Then we need to like have a database to store their message for discussion and their responding for this Firestore event details. So this web app use the Cloud Firestore to save the chat message and receive the new chat message. This is the built-in function for the Firestore. So now we need to enable our Cloud Firestore. So in the Firebase console build section, we can need to click the Firestore database and we click the create database and select the start in test mode. Okay, so get back to your project here and this project overview. Under here, we will have a build. Then go to this Firestore database. Okay, so make sure your view is like this. And then you choose this create database. Okay, so if you already need to build a web app for your project, you choose this start in production mode. If you give you a security rules for your web app, so the others will not so easy to access your document inside your database. But now we actually do it in our test mode. So we choose this start in test mode. This test mode is your data is open by default to enable the quick setup. Like everyone can be easily to access your database, including you yourself. So it's like when you are developing your web app and you didn't produce it yet. So you choose this test mode. It's easier for you to like change the background setting. So from here we can see that we will let all the user to read and write your database. So before the date of 2022, the April of 24, that's 1 month later. So it means that before this 1 month, every user can be allowed to read and write to a database. But if you set a date time here, it's because Firebase have its own security. So after this date, the user will not allowed to read or write their data for the database. So you need to like manually to update the date here after the date is passing through this 1 month. So, but actually this security rules is still not safe yet for everyone because it allows everyone to read and write to a database. So if you actually need to produce your own web app at the future, it's recommended to choose this start in production mode so that you can choose more security rules inside your project. So after this start in test mode, choose next. And this will be your Cloud Firestore location. So if you have doing your real Firebase project, you are recommended to choose your real location. But now we just using in a developing mode. So we can just still stay in the default location here. It's okay for the after the step. So after we set the Firestore location, we choose the enable. So we wait for a while for database to be creating. Okay, so after the creating, we can see that the Cloud Firestore is already created for the database inside this project. So now we go to the next session. Okay. So now we need to add and configure our Firebase. Since the Firebase project is created and our established is also have the coding, but these two didn't link together yet because the established have many Firebase project. He didn't know what is the Firebase project, the unique identifier for your project. So you need to configure your Firebase identifier ID inside your established first, so that he know that this web app belongs to your Firebase project. So we need to add the Firebase libraries. So don't be worried. This library is all already initialized in your established here. So we go to this index.js. So this is your backend. You can see that the library for like style.css and the Firebase SDK, the software development kit, and the Firebase authentication for like the user sign in or sign out, and also the Firebase or Firestore, like your database cloud and your Firebase UI for your SVP button for listener is all already like declared inside your established. So you no need to change anything for this library for the Firebase. So okay, now we need to add a Firebase web app to the project. So we back into our Firebase console and we choose this authentication. Okay, choose this project overview. Okay, you can see that here is the third icon here, saying it's a web. Choose it. Okay, so the nickname can be everything you want for an app. So in this collab here, it's recommended for us to use the web app. So we just continue to use it. And web app. Okay, so for this collab, do not check the box next to also set up Firebase hosting. Because for this project, we didn't use the Firebase hosting. Like actually, this Firebase hosting is let us to like after we set up a project in the Firebase, we need everyone in the world to like access in our URL for our website web app. So we need to use this Firebase hosting like to public our website link, the URL for everyone. But now we actually can just preview the URL inside this established, so we no need to tick the also set up Firebase hosting for this app. So after that, we choose register app. Okay. So here is the coding that give you like your import initialize as from Firebase app, like the SDK before inside the index.js. But this already declared inside our established, so we didn't need to care about this. We just need to use this. This is our web apps Firebase configuration. So make sure you copy it from constant Firebase config to the close braces here. So we can see that there's an API key and the project ID for your unique project ID and the storage bucket for this project inside the Cloud Firestore and the app ID. This app ID is just initialized by the web app here. So after you copy this configuration, now we need to add our Firebase configuration inside our Firebase project into our established now. So the established, the index.js, the backend will know that now it will initialize the database from your project here. So after that, okay, now we go back to our established and we go to the index.js and then we find the command that says add Firebase project configuration object here. So paste your configuration snippet just below the command. So we get back our established and make sure you are pointing to the index.js. So under here, you can see that the add Firebase project configuration object here. Okay, so paste the things that you copied just now. So now your Firebase project is already configured inside your established. So this established index.js is already linked to your Firebase project for your web app. So since this is the instant review, you can just copy this link. Okay, so we can see that the preview here is actually the same inside the established. Since this already a much like very packed, so I use the new tab here for our preview. So you can see what's happening inside your website. Like the March 25, we changed before the Malacca and the join GDSC UTeM that we changed our event description before. So after you initialize your app, the function. Okay, so if you miss to copy your snippet before the Firebase project, actually you can go to the Firebase console and then we click project setting, general tab, and your apps and config. So in case you already, okay, so we just choose continue to the console first. Okay, now you can see that here's a one app here. This means that the web app is already deployed inside your Firebase. So we go here, setting, and we choose project setting. Okay, so under here you can see that your apps, web apps, and then we choose config. Okay, so at here we can see that this your configuration for Firebase project. So this is in case you forget to copy your Firebase object, or in your future you need to deploy a same like a new coding inside of established, but you need your Firebase web app before it. So we can choose go to your project setting here and we choose the Firebase config, and you just need to press this. It will be copy all the API key, and then you can just configure this object inside your established for index.js. Okay, so this is just an extra information. Okay, so now we need to go for our important function, because from now on, actually, we just like given that the event details for like Firebase meetup, the date, the location, and the description. We can't like have a conversation or like interact with our user. So now we need to add some function to them, so we know that the user is actually interact with our web app. So now we need to add the user sign in, or we call it as RSVP. So this RSVP function will need to use the Firebase authentication. It's the Firebase auth from the Firebase function. So this RSVP button will prompt the user to sign in with their email address. So you can do this by hooking up the Firebase UI to an RSVP button. So Firebase UI is a library which gives you a pre-built UI on top of Firebase auth. If you have time in the future, you can just go to the documentation here and you can refer to the Firebase UI, like their setup, their background, or their coding inside the documentation. So we need to tell our Firebase UI that we want the email and password for the sign-in method. So it also can handle the callback for a successful sign-in and returns false to avoid a redirect. So now we go back to our established and go to the index.js, our backend, because we need to like configure our Firebase UI auth after the established is already initialized. So at the top, we locate the Firebase auth. This Firebase auth is the Firebase authentication for the user sign-in, and we add the get auth and email auth provider. So we just copy all this code, so we no need to like be typing again or typing area. Okay, so make sure you copy this line after the command, the import get auth email auth provider from Firebase auth. So you get back to the established and index.js. Make sure you are inside the index.js and you scroll up to the top. Okay, so you can see here the Firebase auth. We only like import the Firebase auth library, but we didn't like give them the object that what we want to initialize for the library. So we copy all of these and we paste. Okay. So make sure your preview didn't cut out any error. And from now we can give us the get out and the email out provider. So this email out provider is the initialize function from the Firebase so that the user can sign in with their email or their password. Using their email and password to sign in to the Firebase app. So we need to give them to initialize the app and give them the out after the get out function from the Firebase authentication library. So we need to copy this. Okay. The out, get out. Okay. Now from here, you can see that this initialize app. So we delete this. And now the Firebase configuration is here. The Firebase configuration from your Firebase project is already like initialized for your web app. And then after a line, we paste the Firebase authentication after the initial app. So now the user can sign in to your web app with their email and their password. Okay, so make sure that your website is can be seen clearly and nothing error happens here. Save. Okay, so remember to save your project after some editing. Okay, so now the Firebase authentication is already initialized from your import library, but we need to like give them a UI. This UI is their object constant, so that it can be used to your function after this authentication UI. So we scroll back here to the bottom. You can see that this constant UI equal to your new Firebase UI, the authentication .UI. So we delete this double slash. And now this UI is already become your object declaration inside your index.js. Okay. So after your Firebase UI is already declared inside your function, we can add the RSVP button to our front end. That's the index.html file. So we add the HTML for the RSVP button inside the event details container before, and the index.html with the Firebase UI alt container. So we copy this. Okay, so make sure you copy this command inside this section for the event details container. But the most important things, we need this button ID, the start RSVP button for our HTML. So after you copy it, okay, go back to your step list and make sure you choose this index.html. Okay, so scroll up, go to this here events details container. Okay, so below this Malacca, you paste, not Malacca, it's your location you changed before. And you can see here the RSVP button is already initialized here. Okay, so this is the advantage for the step list, because you can see that after you just paste your command, your code inside the step list, the URL website is immediately have your RSVP button. So this is a very good function for you to immediately check, is there any error or bug inside your command. So we can see that the front end already put the RSVP button for us. but the button actually didn't function anything. You can try to click it, it didn't give you any response. This is because we need to add the Firebase listener for them. So the ISVP can give you the feedback from the user. So the Firebase console will know that the user now is clicking the ISVP. So now we need to add the Firebase listener from the Firebase console. So we get back to our Colab. This is our app preview. You can see that the ISVP button is already at here. Now we need to set up a listener for the ISVP button and call the Firebase UI to start the function. So this tells the Firebase UI that the user want to sign in for our web app. So, okay, so make sure you copy this. So this command let the ISVP button, we can add the event listener to them. So when the user try to click it, then the UI we declared before will start for the Firebase UI or container, and the UI config there will link to your Firebase object from the API key. So the Firebase web app inside the step list will know that now the user is already want to ISVP with your web app. Okay, so after you copy this command, get back to your step list. Okay, so make sure you choose this index.js for your backend. Okay, so inside here, paste your command. Okay, again, so make sure your preview is clearly, didn't nothing error or bug happen. Okay, so now we already have the backend for the UI configuration to our link to our Firebase project. So we can test to sign in to the app. So if you see an error message stating that the all operation not allowed or the given sign-in provider is disabled for this Firebase project, so make sure that you already enable your email password as a sign-in provider in the Firebase console before it. So we go to here. So we can choose this ISVP and you can sign in with email. So this email can be anything, even a fake email, because you didn't need to, you didn't tick the enable for the email verification. So your web app didn't need to verify the email from the user is a true email or a fake email. But if you actually develop a true web app for your future, it's better for you to verify their email before they sign in, because they may use their fake email to sign in your web app. So you can choose any email, like I choose test1@gmail.com. Okay, so this email can be anything, can like test1 or test2 or Tesla, anything. So after that you press next. Okay, then input the name for the user, also can be anything. I choose Sam and choose your password. So this password is like, because you are the first time user to sign in, so actually this is a sign up step for the user. So the choose password means that you can set any password you want, but make sure you remember the password, because we may sign up after this step and we need to sign in again. So make sure you choose the password that's easy to remember for you. Can be anything. Just make sure you can easier to memorize it, the password. So after you have this email, the name for the user and the password, now we will provide the email and the password for the Firebase authentication. So the user now can be signed in to your web app. So after you input all the information inside here, choose save. So if you return to this view, it's state that the user is already signed in. But if you notice that this ISVP button is still ISVP, so if you are a user, you didn't know that you actually log in or not, because in your common sense, we know that when you log into some app, it will change the RSVP button to like a logout button. So now we need to give some extra function to our web app so that the user can know that they already signed in to their web app or their events or something like their events. So now we get back to our Codelab. Okay, so we can to check the user already signed in our authentication dashboard. So we get back here for our Firebase, your Firebase project, and then we go to this project over here and the authentication, and then you choose this authentication. So you can see that the identifier is the email you register before that. So everyone is different. It's the email you register, and your email created is today, and your sign in, and the user UID that's unique for everyone. So this UID will be useful in later on. So I will explain it later. So from here we can see that this Firebase is actually a very good platform. So when the user is signed in, we can just log into our project, and we can see that every user that is logged in with their identifier and the create time and their sign in time. So the providers here is their email and their password. So if you want to know more about the Firebase UI and the Firebase authentication, like not only for their email password, can also like the extra providers such as the GitHub, Google, and Facebook. So you can just go to this Firebase documentation, and inside there, they will teach you how to give you more sign-in method to your web app. So like this can increase your user to like more friendly and more familiar for your app for user to use it. So okay, now we need to reflect that the user know that they already signed in your web app, because we can see that at here the user is already signed in, but they can only see the RSVP here, so they didn't know it. So now we need to add more function for them to notice the UI is already give the user to know that they are already log in or log out. So now we go to the establish, and we go to the index.js. So it's your backend. Now we need to give the Firebase authentication some new function object like sign out and the on-off state change. So these sign outs, okay, like the word said, is for the user to sign out, and this on-off state change is the authentication state change. It means that it gives the coding your backend to know that the state between the user is whether it's sign in or sign out or not. So if you can build your own function inside this on-off state change, so you can like clear more function inside the sign in or sign out. So at here can just copy all of these from the import, and this get out is the code before it. The email or provider is your email and password. Now we increase these two functions for them, the sign out and the on-off state change. So all of these function is actually provided from the Firebase authentication library. Okay. So now we go back to our establish, and we go make sure you are choosing this index.js. Okay, so scroll to the top. Okay, so find this. We highlight this all for the Firebase authentication. You can see that the object here is only two for like get out and the email out provider. So now we paste the code before it. Okay, so you can see that there is a get out, the email out provider, and a sign out and the on-off state change. But you can see that this sign out and the on-off state change is didn't highlight it yet because we didn't declare the function below it. So now we need to declare the function for the sign out user and the on-off state change to let the user know they are signed in or sign out or not. So we add this on-off state change function. So this authentication function let the user to know that if the user is signed in, so the start RSVP button the text content will be show log up. So if else that the user is not signed in, we can see that the button is displayed as RSVP. So the user will know that when there is sign in or sign out or not. So as same, we just copy of this code. So in case we didn't copy it. Okay, so from this on out state change of this function. Okay, now you go back here, you scroll to the bottom here, you can see that the main function. Okay, so paste your code before these braces. Okay, so from here you can see that now your RSVP button should be changed to logout because before that we already signed in to our web app. So you can see that at here it also log out. Okay. So after that, as the same as the RSVP button before, we have the listener for the user to RSVP button. So we also need the listener to our logout button. So the logout will give the response to our Firebase to let us to know that the user is click on the logout button to let them the user to sign up for the web app. So still the same. We copy all of this. Okay, so let me repeat again that here is the start RSVP button function dot the event listener. So when the user is click on it, so if now the user is currently signed in, so we'll give them to sign up. So if the user is not signed in, so we'll give them to the UI.start, the UI config before. So we'll link to the UI first and let the user to log in. So now we replace this start RSVP button. So we go back to our step list and make sure you are in this index.js and you highlight this listen to RSVP button, clicks the start RSVP button at event listener before this. Okay, and you replace this code with the code you copy now. So make sure your preview is everything should be all right here. Okay, so you can see that now if you click this logout button, it will immediately change to this RSVP. Okay, so you can click again and we choose to sign in with the email we signed up before. And we input the password. Okay, and then we choose sign in. Okay, so this should become a logout button if your command is everything all right. So this will be inform your user to let them to know that now your user is already signed into our app. So okay, this is the app preview. So if you are stuck or think that you might be off track, actually here is the step list with the code that is added up on this point of the Codelab. So if you are not like the preview of your web is something area here, you can just click on this tab list and then you choose to fork the project and fork the project so that it's your own, and you add your Firebase project configuration object, the API key from the project overview here. So if you are already okay, so if everything is all right, so we go through to our next step. So now actually it's good to let the user to have a discussion on your event, because now you only give the user to know the event details like the date, the location, and the description. and also let them to like give you the ISVP button so that they can like sign up for your web app. But the user cannot like have an interaction between them, so we need to give them a discussion platform so that they can discuss with your event inside your web app. So now the Cloud Firestore is being an important role to store the message that discuss between the user. So here is the data model. The Cloud Firestore is a non-SQL database. So the data is not like arranged in a table form. It's split into the collection, documents, and the fields, and even the sub-collection. So it's just like you have a big database, and the database can give you a separate collection. So example here, you can choose your collection name as the guestbook, and under the collection, if you have many documents, like for user A, user B, user C, and the documents there will have many fields, like the name, the text, timestamp, and the user ID. So even under the documents, you can also create your sub-collection under your collection. So it's like a tree structure. So you can manage your Cloud Firestore with like a simple manner. Doesn't like a SQL database. It's actually you need to like you need to have a advanced schema before you build the data. So this is actually good for you. Like you can just give them a like collection name, and you can after that you can just add on your document, your fields, wherever you want. So from here you can see that the name is the username, and the text is the message that leave from the user inside the discussion. And we have the timestamp. The timestamp is the time that the user leave their comment inside the discussion. And the user ID. This user ID is important things to identify the user is unique for your user to log in for your web app. So to learn more about the Cloud Firestore data model, you can read this Cloud Firestore documentation, and you can also watch a great series of videos that describe the Cloud Firestore NoSQL data model, the queries, and other cool things that you can do with the Cloud Firestore. So now we need to add the message to the Firestore, because like this before, we need to add a discussion UI for the user to input their comment inside this HTML here. Okay, so before we start it, we leave some like 10 minutes, like 5 minutes break time for them, like they didn't handle their project here. So okay. So now we continue to our Firestore here for this Firebase for web. So now in this section, we need to add our UI elements inside our HTML. So this UI element will let the user to leave their message for the discussion inside the web app. So from here, we need to choose this form ID leave message. A form here inside the guestbook container. So you can see that here's the form ID, like I leave a message, and there's a text for the message, and we can have a button type that submit for user to send their discussion inside our database. So we need to copy this code, and we get back to our step list, and make sure you choose this index.html, and under the guestbook container here. Okay, so copy this and you replace with this. Sorry. Okay. So we need to add our discussion title here. Okay, so is it okay for everyone to copy this discussion and leave message ID and the label here? So we paste it inside this section. Okay, so after that, we can see that now the front end here, the HTML, is at the discussion heading and leave a message for the label, and then the user can input their text inside this message, and the button type for the submit, and it shows that's the icons and the send here. So from here, we can also see that there's a discussion for user to leave their message for the discussion and then can send it to the database. Okay. So from here, you can see that the app preview here, you can have the details of the title, the date, the place, and the description, and the discussion for the message for the user to type in their message. So a user, you click for the message to be import to our database. But now we can see that the Firebase Firestore here didn't have the collection for them. So now we need to add the Firestore function to the Firebase project so that we can import the library from them. So we just copy this Firebase Firestore library from the get Firestore add doc and the collection object. Okay, so now after you copy it, go back to your step list and make sure you choose this index.js and you scroll up to the top, and you find this Firebase Firestore. So this Firebase Firestore is the function that let you to use the Cloud Firestore inside your web app. So after you import this, now we have a reference. So we need to add this database. DB stands for the database. So for the Firestore, we can use the function that we import from the Firebase library. So now we find your initialize apps inside your index.js, and under the auth get auth here, the command before, and you paste. So you need to paste your function here so you can initialize your database for your Cloud Firestore. So make sure your app will be previewed like this, have a discussion, leave a message, and all of this before. So after that, you need to copy all of these. Okay. Okay. Copy all of these inside the command. Okay, after you copy all of these, go back to your step list inside the index.js and scroll to the bottom. Okay. So on top of the main function here, is your function. Okay, so from here we can see that it's also a form the event the listener to submit. And this prevent default is actually for the message to prevent it to default to redirect back to a database. So this adopt is and the collection is the object that you declared before at the top of the import Firestore library. So this DB stands for the database, and we will create a collection for the database here, named as the guestbook. And here is your document inside the guestbook with a JSON type. And the first one is a key, and the key is the text, the timestamp, name, and their user ID. And the value after the key is the input value, is the user that is the input inside the discussion box. And the timestamp here is the date when they insert their message inside the discussion. And the name is the user for their display name after the authentication UI is logged in. And the user ID is the UID that they created automatically before when they sign up for the user. So after the user is send their message to the web app, the input value inside the discussion here should be clear out. And if the message is avoid to redirect there, we return a false. So after that, okay. So now we copy off this for this on all state change from listen to the current all stage until the braces here. Okay, now actually we will be manipulate for this all stage, the on all state change function. So after you copy this, go back to your step list and make sure you inside this index.js, and you scroll up back, find this on all state change function, and you copy, you highlight all of these. So before that, you can see that it's only a function here that's for the user to know that there is logout or RSVP. So now you replace the command here. Okay, sorry. Okay. So here you can see that the on all state change. So before that, you can only, when the user is logged in, you can only see that the RSVP become the logout. And when the user is logged out, you can see that it's RSVP button. But now actually we can let the user to avoid the user that is not signed in to see your discussion inside the message here. Like if you see that when you log out, okay, you can see that the discussion is already disappeared from here. So if a user didn't sign in to your web app, it can't be accessed to your discussion for the user. So it can avoid like a basic security for your user to discuss about their message for events. So if we sign in again, so we can see that the discussion is reappeared here after the user is signed in. So after that, we can test to like after you sign in back to your app, so we can choose to like you can also just just leave your message inside this preview UI here. But in case for someone that didn't see clearly, so I use this website to like a perfect view for this website. So you can leave any message here like hello everyone. You send. So now your message is already sent by the user inside your database for your Fire Cloud Store. So now you can go to the database dashboard here. Go back to your project. After you send your message, go back to your project, and this Firestore database. Okay, so from here we can see that the guest book is the collection name for the database, and the guest book will have their unique object ID that's automatically generalized by the Firebase. And here is the document with the JSON type, the name for the user like the SAM I set up before, and the text that I leave in the hello everyone inside the discussion, and the timestamp is for the date by now when I leave the message inside the discussion, and the user ID is the ID that's automatically generalized by the Firebase for the unique identifier. So inside the step list here, we can see that the timestamp here is the date.now. So the user ID, the current user.uid is actually a good information for us and for the system to know that the ID is actually provided by ourselves and not created by them. So if you are stuck here, you actually can go this link and fork this project. So you can continue with us for this project. So next, now the user is sent the message to our database, but they couldn't see the discussion between them inside this web app for the event details. So now we need to generalize the discussion platform for them to know that the other user are leaving what message for them. So now we go back to establish and go to index.html, and we copy all of this section ID in the guestbook container. Okay. So go back here and make sure you choose this index.html. So you copy these two. Okay, and you replace it. Okay. Okay. So now we need to register the listener for them to like make change to the data. So same as before, we just copy all of this code for this Firestore library. And then you go back to index.js and you scroll back up there and you find the Firestore library here. And you just replace the command. Okay, so before that, we actually have the get Firestore, the add doc, and the collection for our database. Now we need to have the query to let our front end to take out the document inside the database from our back end. And the order by is actually for you to order your user message that live in the discussion with ascending or descending order. And the on snapshot is for the front end to get the information inside the document, avoiding from the security rules. So we will discuss it later on by the function generalize. So now we just copy this function, okay, from this create query for message until this close bracket semicolon here. Okay, and then we go back to our index.js from our step list, and we scroll to the bottom here. Okay, so after this, you paste your command here. And now, so from here, we can see that this query means that you need to take out your document inside the database from the collection and name as guestbook and order by the timestamp with descending order. So this descending order means that the latest discussion from the user will be on the top. So we can know the latest news from the discussion from the user now. So after that, we need to have the guestbook, inner HTML, and snap for each. So this actually is a document that we need to create data from them like, okay. So at here we can see that this is the format like the data of the name with the user like Sam and the semicolon here, and the data, the text here that you leave a message before that, like hello everyone. So at here you can see that the discussion here. Okay. So you can actually see the discussion here, like the Sam leaving the hello everyone. Okay, so now you can choose to, like, you log out here and you choose to RSVP again, but with a different email now. Okay, can be any email you want, and with any name you want, and choose the password. Okay, so you can, if you are not a good memorizing, you can just choose the password as same as the email before. Okay, so after that you press save. Okay, so after you see this logout button here, you can know that your this second email account is already signed in inside your app. So you can leave different message like hi all. Okay. So from here you can see that the David is already leave a message like hi all. So because before that your coding is writing a descending order belongs to your timestamp. So we can see that the latest message that we leave inside this web app is actually at the top. So this is actually a good function for us to not the oldest one at the top, but the newest one on the top. So everyone can just know the latest message inside this discussion. Okay. Okay, so if, as the same before, this is a checkpoint. If you didn't follow or you get some bug or error inside your step list, you can just go this step list is for the third checkpoint and you just fault this project. And then remember to like copy your Firebase configuration object from the project overview there, so that your step list know that the project belongs to your Firebase project. Okay. So if anyone is like have some problem inside your coding, you can just copy this step list and you can refer what is different inside your coding. So make sure you can leave some preview inside here. Okay, so now we go to our next step. Okay, so since we set our Cloud Firestore in the test mode before, so anyone without the user sign in or with sign in or without sign in, they can actually access to our database document and the collection. So we need to add some security rules for our Cloud Firestore. So from here we go back to our project, for our Firebase project, and we choose this Firebase database. Okay, so from here we can see that the Sam, hi, and the second one, the Ray, from the Ray that reply the informative night. and Ray, good to see you guys. So actually, we can see that all of this text is actually a string. So okay, you use this hi all from the David. From here, we can see that the David is replied with a hi all. So actually, we are the owner for this project. So we can just simply change the message that is replied by our user. So at here, we can choose the edit field, text hi all. Okay. So if I choose this, like hello user. Okay. So we update. So okay, we can see that here the his discussion inside the message is already changed, including the preview here. So this means that the step list for the development of the Firebase is actually good for us because it seems very fast. Okay. So now we need to add our security rules for our cloud firestore. Now we choose the rules. Okay, so when we actually choose for the test mode, before this, we can see that it actually allow everyone to read and write if the request time is before this timestamp, that is 2022, the April of 24. That's 1 month after that. So before this, everyone can just access your database and read and even write. So they can just change anything that is inside your document. So this is not a good security or secure for your user. So we need to add some secure rules for them. So it's not like not everyone is so easy to go through and access into your database. So we go back to your Colab. Okay. So we copy all of these, the add security rules. Okay, after you copy it, go back to your Firebase project and you just replace all of the coding. Okay, now we can see that the read and write is already changed. That is, we allow the user to read if only that the request for the authentication UID is actually matched to your UID inside your database. Is actually, you can see that before that in your database, the UID is automatically generalized by your Firebase. So only the user can be read and allow you can be to create if your user ID is equal to the request from your resource data user ID. So it's provide the user to read and create the message only, but not everyone can be write to your database document. So this will add up your secure database to more secure to your database document. So at here we can see that this still unpublished change. So we need to click this publish. Okay, now so your security rules is actually update. Like not everyone can be read and write, but only the user can be read to create their message inside the discussion. So now we go continue. Now we need to add some validation rules for them. Like okay, we just copy it again. Okay, then go back to your and copy again and then replace. Okay, now because we need to restrict the user to comment inside their discussion. So the read is actually still the same. The UID must be matched to the ID user inside the database. But for the create message inside the discussion, not only the UID must be the same, the name inside the resource data also must be the same, and the text inside the JSON format and the timestamp for them to request. So this will restrict the user that like not fulfill all of the document or like the JSON format. So it will avoid some bug and error for your user to leave a message inside your discussion. So after your rules is updated, click again the publish. Okay, so now your security rules is already updated again. Okay. Now we need to reset the listeners because okay, we just copy this again. Listen to guestbook updates. Okay, so from here we can see that this function actually we have write it before here, but the problem is now we have update our security rules inside here. So user can be only leave their message when the name, the text, and the timestamp is belongs to the user ID. But now this function is outside your authentication. So you need to build in this function inside your on-off state change before the user is signed in. So it will avoid some problem for them when they need to leave a message before they sign in. So now you just copy of this and you replace it. Okay, so this is the it's still the same, the code for them, like leaving a message, but the function now is like a built-in function inside on stage for the subscribe guestbook. So now we have the function that listen to guestbook updates, and we also need to a guestbook for the unsubscribe. So the same, we just copy this code. Okay, and we paste it under it. Okay, so this function for unsubscribe is actually for the guestbook listener to see that is the user is signed in or not. If the user is signed in, then it will change the sign in value to null. So it means that you sign out the user from the guestbook now, so they couldn't see the guestbook updates afterwards. So okay, now we actually add the two function, the function for subscribe guestbook and the function for unsubscribe guestbook. So now we can just build in this function inside the on-off state change. Like the on-off state change, before we have when the user is logged in, we can see the logout, and we block the guestbook container to display, and now we give them a subscribe guestbook function, so they can leave their message inside the discussion. So when the user is logged out, we can see that the button becomes the RSVP, and the guestbook container will be none. We can't see anything, and we'll give them to unsubscribe the guestbook, so it will sign out from the discussion of the message. So as the same, we just copy of this. Okay, so go back to establish and this index.js, and up here find the on-off state change. So we just replace all of the coding inside this. Okay, so from here we can see that the discussion will be appeared after the user is logged in. So when the user is logged out, you can see that the discussion is disappeared from the web app. So this give your web app more secure from the unknown user, because the user can be only seen the discussion between the user after they are RSVP inside your event. So if you are still stuck or maybe off track, you can just copy this checkpoint 4 and fork this project, and remember to add your Firebase project configuration. Okay, now here is the bonus step, like to practice what you have learned. So now from here we can see that so from here you can see that you have your event details, your date, your location, your RSVP button, your description, and your discussion for any user inside your events. But we can't have a database to collect the user, is they already responding to go or not go. So we need to have a new button for them to click to choose whether they are going to the event or not going to the event. So from here, we need to add the yes and no button for them. So we just copy these two. Included the title that are you attending. Okay, so go back to your step list and this index.html. So under this guestbook container, so you just paste it. Okay, so from here we can see that now you have a new title with are you attending and a yes button and a no button. So you can record the user function for them to know that whether they are going to your event or not going to event. But now you can see that the button is not responding because it's the same as the RSVP button. You didn't add some listener to them. So now you need to build a listener for them to listen the user feedback and then add this attending to your database. Okay. Now your app preview will be like this. The detail, the date, and your location, and the description, and also the attending function for yes and no button. Now you copy all of this Firebase Firestore from the library. Okay. So after you copy it, go back to establish and index.js, and then scroll out to the top. Okay. Now find this Firebase Firestore, and then replace all of them. Okay, so this 6 object declaration is the function we used it before. Now we have the dog, the set dog, and the var. So this function will be explained after the function is declared. Now, okay. So for RSVP, yes, we need to copy of this. Okay, so after you copy it, go back to establish and scroll inside this index.js and scroll back down to the bottom. Okay. So paste it under here. Okay. So this means that when the user is click on the yes for attending, so your database will create a new collection names attendance. So this attendance will depends of the UID for the unique identifier for every user. So if the RSVP is a yes, so attending there will be true, means that the value will be +1. And then so if this is to avoid the redirect of message, go back to a database. So we put it at a console.area from E here at the bottom of that. So when you have the listener for the RSVP for yes, now you should have the RSVP for no here. So as the same, we go back to our Colab here. Okay, so here is the RSVP no function. So we just simply copy it. Okay, so now we paste it here under the RSVP yes. Okay. So from here we can see that when the RSVP no is clicked by the user, so same as that, it also been installed the database attendance for the current user with UID. But now there's no returning the true value. They're returning the false value for the database. So we know that there's one more user that's not going to attend your event here. Okay, so after you had input your command here. Okay, go back to Colab. Now you need to add your rules, because before that, our rules here, you can see that we allow the user to create that leave their message if only as they have a request for the UID, the name, the text, and the timestamp inside the JSON type. But now we already have insert 2 more functions for them, like attending for yes or no. So these security rules will be avoid the user to respond to this button, because this is obeys to the security rules. So we need to update it to let the project security know that the user not only can be leave a message for the discussion, but they can also be like give a response for yes or no going button. So now go back to our Colab, and then we copy this. Okay. So now we go back to our Firebase project. Okay, but don't just replace it. Okay, you paste it up here. Okay, so from here we can see that if we separate to see, we can see that the match for attendees user ID. So we allow them to read if it is true, and we allow them to write if the request authentication either the user ID is true. But this is still not enough for us to like let the user to respond to the button. So we go back to our Colab. Okay, so this is the actual validation rules for us to let the user to read and write. So now we copy again. Okay, now go back to our Firebase project, and then we replace this, the first one. Okay, so now we can see that if only the attendance is matched to the user ID, so that can be read. And then there can also be write if the UID is the same and the attending in the request.resource.data. So this means that the user is not only can be leave their message, they can also be respond to the attending for the yes and no button. But now we need to copy all of these, match here. Okay. From this match, guest book entry, allowed read write, and then to here. Okay. So now we paste it here. Then we delete all this. And then we delete all this. Okay. Okay, I check whether it's error or not. Okay, so we separate the security rules to 2. The first one is the name, the text, and the timestamp we set before. And the second one is the security for the user to mark for their attendance that is true or false to not attending or attending to our event. So after that, we publish it, go back to our Colab before. And now our backend is already know the user is attend or not attend or not, but the front end user that see from the web app here, they still can't know that if someone is attending or not attending. So we need to build up a function for them to visualize that can see actually how many people are going to this event. So from here we can copy this for the number attending. Okay, so go back to our step list inside the index.html, and then inside this after the workshop. So after you paste it, okay, description container. Okay, so after this, we only have the number of attending inside our front end, but we need a listener again for them to know that the user is click on the yes button or the no button. So now we copy all this. So after you copy this code, go back to establish and make sure you choose this index.js. index.js, and after that you paste it inside your function here. Okay, so sorry, get me a minute. Get to know. Okay. Give me a second. I need to fix this error. Let me see. I think there's something wrong here. Okay, never mind. Give me a second. Firebase, SB. Oh, okay. Oh, so okay. Okay. You go back to your third step inside your step 10. Okay, so at here you can see that this listen to ISVP respond. Okay, so make sure you copy this. Okay, is it okay? So after you copy this function, okay, go back to your step list. The third step, the command inside your step 10. Okay, so go back to your step list inside your index.js, and then you paste it above your listen to ISVP respond here. Okay. If you are already paste it, you should be seen that this thing here. So how many people is going for event? Okay, so if you already log in inside this app, when you choose this yes button, it will show that 1 people is going, and if you choose this no button, it will actually show 0 people is going. Okay, so I hope everyone is can be follow up and catch up till now. Okay. Okay, so I didn't explain it before inside here. So this query is for us to like a collection for database inside the attendees collection. So this will show up when the attending is be true, because when we click this ISVP for yes, the true value will be 1. So when we click a no, the false value will be 1. So it will like deduct again from the attending from the yes button. So for the unsubscribe, you will show that the new attending count inside the database, that's 1, and plus the string for your HTML is the people going. So you can also see from here, this will be visualized for the user to know that actually that's how much of people or user that's signing inside your ISVP button is actually attending for your event. So after that, Okay. Okay, now we can see that there's a funny thing here is after you choose this attending for yes, you can see the button is nothing changed here. So the user couldn't know that they actually press no or yes here because there's no like a feedback for user to know that they actually has clicked on the yes button or the no button. So now you need to give some function for them to let the user to have a feedback to know that the button is actually clicked by the user. So now we go back to our Codelab and we copy all of this function. Okay, so after you copy this command, go back to establish, and then under this index.js, and you paste it above the main. Okay. Oh, okay. So you need to okay. So is it okay for everyone? So now we continue to our function to unsubscribe. So we copy this function. Okay, so this function is also still the same like when the user want to leave their message in the discussion before. We need to separate this subscribe and the unsubscribe RSVP function because when you put this function outside your on-off state change, it will obey the security rules that you declared before inside your Cloud Firestore. So you need to put these two functions inside your on-off stage. So first we copy this function for unsubscribe first. And after that, we go back to establish and you paste it under here. Okay, so it should be the same. Okay, now after you, okay, this unsubscribe RSVP is when your RSVP listener is not equal, is not now, is not matched to your login user ID. So you go back to your listener. So the yes and the no button for the class name will be blacked out after the user is logged out. So it's just like when you know that the user is logged in, so it will highlight the button that is clicked on. And after the user is logged out, it will both de-highlight the button after the user is sign out from the user in the web app. So now after you create this function for subscribe and unsubscribe, you will copy all of this on all stage. Yeah. We will copy all of this on all stage here. Okay. So remember to copy all of this. Okay. So after you copy this on all state change, go back to establish, and then make sure you choose the index.js, and above there, find the on all state change. Okay, so this one, the on all state change before, you can see that when the user is logged in, can be logged out, the discussion will be displayed, and it can be viewed for the guestbook inside the database. But now we need to add some function like the subscribe guestbook before and the unsubscribe guestbook before. So you copy all of this code and replace it. Okay, so from here you can see that when the user is logged in, it's the same that log out, the display will be blocked and the guestbook will be seen. And now if we go to the subscribe current RSVP user function that we created before, it means that it will highlight on the yes button. So the user can know that they actually click on the button for yes. And it's the same when the user is logged out, the RSVP will be, the logout button will become RSVP again, and you can't be shown for the discussion message, and the guestbook for the database is unseen for them, and they also will be go through the subscribe current RSVP. Means that both of the yes button and the no button will be unhighlighted. So now we can check forward, like if you choose the no attending, you can see that your button should be highlighted on the no button. So it's the same here. Yes and no. Okay. So if a user is logged out, okay, we can see that all of the button is already disappeared and the discussion for the user is also disappeared. We can only see that how many people is going because this actually is a way for the user that didn't RSVP yet to know that now that's actually how many user is going to join your events details. So this will be your app review. Okay. So like if I RSVP again. Okay, so we can see that the attending here is still the yes. So if I log in with my second email, so I put yes, you can see that now the going counting will become 2 and the discussion here will be the same. Like if I send good to see you guys, the latest discussion for the message will be on the top because the order time for the timestamp is the descending order. So your preview here for the Firebase project is actually like this. Got the event details, the image, your date, location, RSVP button, and the description, and how many people is going into an event, and choose to attending with yes button and no button, and the discussion for every user to have their informative to exchange inside this event. So okay, so if you can't stuck if you still stuck inside your project established, so you can just copy this checkpoint file. So actually this checkpoint file is the whole command inside the established for this Codelab. So this will be moved smoothly for you, but still remember to add your Firebase project configuration inside your Firebase console. So next, configuration. You already finished this Firebase to build an iterative real-time web application. So today we have covered 4 things for the Firebase function. The first one is the Firebase authentication. So this Firebase authentication inside the Firebase UI is the on-off state change for let the Firebase to know that the user is signed in or signed out to attending to go or not attending to go. So the Firebase UI is the UI that is just import from the Firebase library. So you don't need to to give a complex coding to have a interactive button for us because the Firebase actually provide us a good UI for us to like RSVP button, the attending to go, no, the leave a message for the send. It's actually built out a good library for us inside the Firebase. So the third one is when you have the user to sign in, you actually need to collect the data from them. So now the CLUD file store inside the Firebase is actually good for us because it uses the non-SQL database that let the user to collect their name, the timestamp, their message, and also their attending to go like a true and false. So when your user is actually more increasing after your app development, so you need security rules for them. So not everyone is easily to access in your database, and this security rules is actually provided by the Firebase. So Firebase is actually a good application for us to like a built-in integrated environment to having a front end and back end, and we can just collect our document more easily without a complex coding. So if you are a new user, like you don't know what is about the non-SQL database, you can actually saw this video and you can know more than like what is the JSON type and the document type, the collection, how they can store inside the tree structure data for the non-SQL database. So that's all for tonight. Is there any question for virtual or the face-to-face platform? If you have any question, you can leave it on the comment section. Okay, so 我应该开在哪个 slide？
不用开slide，开我人头就可以了。So hi, apparently we have a question. Hi everyone. Just to kind of introduce myself, I'm Kwang. So I will be answering this question. So the question is, what is NoSQL compared to SQL, and how is the structure different? So the first thing you need to know that NoSQL is unstructured and SQL is structured. So SQL is SQL. So if you use SQL, you need to predefine your data and the structure itself. So let's say if you want to collect user data, you need like something like user ID, username, email, and so on. So you need to define the data already and put it there. So the data is just there. You cannot like change it and add something like, or maybe gender, you want to add a gender column or something like that. So yeah, like you can add a gender column, but you will affect the whole table itself. But if let's say you use NoSQL, you can just straight away add it on. So something like, okay, I want this new user to have this gender column, this gender field. So you just add it to the JSON thing. So in usual cases, I would say in usual cases, because you can enforce it. So in usual cases, SQL, you can make it kind of relational, and you can force it to something like have foreign key restraints. So something like you like for example a messaging app, you can say that okay, you can only have a message for particular users and so on. So if there's no user, you cannot have a message. Yeah, it's something simple as that. But for NoSQL, you can say that some user ID exists for this particular message, but this user ID may not already previously exist. Yeah, so that is one also important structure. And second is NoSQL is actually I would say a newer type of data format. Is not always better than SQL because of some limitations. But modern applications, many of them use NoSQL is because that for NoSQL, right, you can do searches. This is debatable, but in many cases that NoSQL searches is much more quicker, because when you define your data, you can define something like, okay, this particular person and this person have maybe this person have 3 names. So you just put 3 names in this particular document. So when you query the document out, you query and say, okay, this particular person, the names. So you just come up with that array of names. But if let's say if you use SQL, what happens is that you will need to join tables. So the first table is, let's say, person table, and the second table is something like names tables. So what will happen is that you need to take the user ID and then need to join towards this table. So you need to do something like a full database scan, a full table scan, throughout this table in order to get just 3 names. Yeah. So in this sense, I would say that it depends on use cases. And of course, if let's say your data is very, very structured and you are sure that it's structured, use SQL. If not, just use NoSQL. If let's say you have no time to decide on your schema, just throw everything in NoSQL, and once you have time, you just put it into SQL. It's much more easy to be queried, I would say. Yeah, that's my answer. Yay.
Okay. One more. Okay.
Okay.
why Firestore? Why not use real-time database? So I would say that I'm not sure if I'm particularly correct on this, but in most cases that Firestore is, I would say, more towards storage and a query, a more complex queries, while real-time database is something towards something that has really, really low latency, but it's not so complex. So something like Firestore, you can, Firestore, you can query something like, this particular instance of this particular data itself. This one I'm not really familiar, but it, as far as I know, it's like that. But real-time database is like, okay, you can just request this particular document, and then you cannot request which particular things that you need. Something like, if you want to request a human, you cannot request something like just a hand or just an eye or something like that. You only can request the whole human. So of course it depends on use cases, and also as far as I know, Firebase, they have this documentation place where they let you something like an expert system-ish thing. Like you just answer a few questions and then they will tell you, okay, which applications is more suitable to use Firestore and which applications are suitable to use real-time database. And then one quite important thing is that Firestore charges, real-time database charges primarily on the bandwidth itself. Yeah, so it focuses more on bandwidth. It's has a different rate than Firestore. So yeah, it's something like the use case. Like it charges on bandwidth, but if I remember correctly, it doesn't charges on storage itself because it's also, I would say, short-lived-ish data. So yeah, based on your use case. I hope I answered your question. I hope. Yeah. Any more questions, MC? Nope. So I think I passed to the next person. Bye.
Thank you for the expert Tongman to explain for the Q&A. So now we will have the feedback form for you to scan it. So we will. Okay. So this feedback form, we appreciate you to give it and to like complete it, so we can know that what we need to improve for our event. So please scan your QR code here.
Okay, so hi everyone. So I would like to ask you guys kindly follow our Discord and Instagram page for further event information. Okay, thank you. So the links will be provided in the comments. nothing, then I think we can close our study jam today. So thank you all for joining our study jam tonight, and good night.